we'll go into the talk, which I think will be fun for everybody, just talking about using technology. And we're going to kind of walk through some things to kind of make things maybe seem more accessible or, show you how they might be useful for you. So I know last talk, for those of you that were on it, we were kind of talking about like maybe some one pan meals or kind of easy things that you guys might be able to make at home. So what we're going to do is actually a sheet pan fajita meal. So I'm going to get that started. Right now I have the oven preheating to 390, and we're just going to slice our veggies. We're going to mix them together with our olive oil and spices, and then we're going to get those cooking in the oven. So first we're going to chop our vegetables. So we're going to do, we have an orange pepper. So we're just going to slice this. I feel like you can see me I feel like I'm closer up than I normally am. Kind of strange. I don't know why, but I think it's working. My camera's farther away, so who knows? All right, so we're gonna slice our peppers, and you can use any type of pepper for this. You can play around with different veggies too. You don't have to limit yourself to just peppers and onions and portobello mushrooms. You could use, whatever's in season in the summer, zucchini, eggplant, really whatever types of veggies that you like. All types of veggies roast well. We're going to roast these kind of thicker vegetables first. We're going to do that for about 15 to 20 minutes, and then we'll put the black beans on because they'll cook up a little bit faster, and we don't want them to burn up. And that's usually kind of the same, like if we're doing like a one sheet pan of different texture roasted vegetables. So for example, if you have some root vegetables, obviously they take longer than sometimes like the peppers and onions would. So if you're ever doing something like that, you can just even stagger with that, what time you kind of start everything. This is not a knife I'm used to using, so feels like it needs to be sharpened. All right, so let's do our slicing. Our onions. And then we have some baby portobello mushrooms. So I did kind of clean them ahead. I am going to pull out the stem. They're just a little bit rougher, and kind of in something like this, I don't really want to use the stems. But you could always throw them in the freezer and like save them for some sort of a soup or, vegetable stock or something like that. You can also use the white oyster mushrooms. Just gonna kind of like slice these as well. Enjoying seeing some sunshine outside today. Starting to get a little less chilly up here. All right. A couple more of these. So this dish is really nice, like as you can see kind of in the picture that I took. I'm trying to like make my recipes be a little fancier for the new year. So doing some pictures, but you can see that, I put them inside of a tortilla. You could do that. You could have this like with some type of grain if you'd like to, or just by itself. But it really is a nice, quick, easy meal. And I think the other thing that I might do while we're just kind of getting this together, I think I might get my corn going just so we can have that cool before we make our corn street taco type street Mexican street corn recipe. So I'm gonna just start heating up my pan and then we'll just kind of cook that corn for about 5 minutes while we're doing our other seasonings and things with this. Let me just get my oil for that. So I thought I grabbed my olive oil, but I have avocado oil, and that's perfect for this. I'm just gonna do a tablespoon of oil. And then we're gonna do our, might take a while. Still tiny bit frozen. I'm gonna let that heat up first. It's not fully frozen. I know not to put fully frozen things on corn. I don't want to set, I mean, on heated oil. I don't want to set this room in flames. That wouldn't be good. Borrowing somebody else's house. Okay, so we're just gonna let that kind of heat up and saute a little bit. Okay, so we have our veggie mix. So I'm going to add now into this some seasoning. So we're going to do a tablespoon of olive oil, which I do have a little bit of that I'm going to use. And then we're going to add our spices. So we're going to do some garlic powder, onion powder, cumin, and ground black pepper. So we're going to do a half teaspoon of these different spices. Onion powder. Our garlic powder. Paprika. So I'm gonna do some black pepper. I'm gonna go grab my cumin because I forgot to pack mine. So black pepper. I'm just gonna sprinkle this in. It's about a quarter teaspoon. Let me just grab the cumin. We're just gonna hold off on the cumin for today. Can't reach it. Um, okay, so we're gonna get this on a sheet pan and I'm gonna put it in the oven. Let's just give it a nice stir. So I'm gonna put this in for about 15 minutes, 15 to 20, and then we'll add in the drained and rinsed black beans. Our sheet pan. We have that right there. I'm gonna go pop this into the oven. We're just gonna keep letting this cook a little bit. This pan takes a little while to heat up. All right, so we're gonna let that go for 15 minutes and then I'll, like I said, pop those black beans in with it. Okay, so let's get to talking about technology. So I wanted to do this just because I think there's so much more out there and we can even like maybe work together and like share other resources that I'm not covering. So, feel free to pop in the chat anything that you've been using and enjoying for kind of the various topics that we're going to be talking about. But we're going to look at my PowerPoint first. That is not what we needed. Okay. Hold on, this gets put away. Do not like being on this rough surface. Let me just get my actual PowerPoint. All right, so can we see that now? Okay, perfect. Great. So why use technology? So with technology, we're going to have easy access to recipes. We can do grocery lists to avoid forgetting items. We might do an app that tracks a nutrition and budget. And we might find some ways to substitute ingredients and save money. So there's a variety of different meal planning apps that we can try. So Mealime is one of them. So that's customized meal plans based on diets. And that on the right is a little example of the Mealime app when it's open and what it looks like. So there's a variety of meal planning apps that have recipes built in. So you're able to pull that grocery list from, what you're you know, selecting as recipes. So that can be a nice option, if people are looking to kind of try different recipes, try different things. And then there's also something called Yumly, and that's recipes with like step-by-step video instructions. So sometimes people might like that as well. So those would be like some meal planning apps that have recipes built in. And then some people will just kind of do meal planning on their own and they might, have their recipes and then kind of maybe set up a little calendar that they're doing with their meal planning. Also making grocery shopping easier. So for example, I realized last night that I forgot to shop for tonight. So I pulled up my Giant app and I put in my list of what I needed to buy. And I picked it up this morning on the way back from dropping the kids off at school. So that worked really well. So it's kind of, I find that the online grocery shopping is great for just like quick trips. It can be great for big trips. So there's a couple different options that you might encounter out there with regards to the online grocery shopping. So we might use apps like Instacart or Amazon Prime or Ship It. So those services typically will deliver from different grocery stores. So I don't, Instacart kind of like goes all over the place. It's a person that works for Instacart and they'll go to different grocery stores. Aldi's typically runs it a little bit differently with Instacart, and even Wegmans, I think you can order from them and pick it up from their Instacart. I do find that Instacart does like bring up the it increases the prices a little bit. And then obviously if you're getting a delivery, you're still like paying a little bit more with that. But that still is a good option for a lot of people. Amazon Prime, with that, you can order through Whole Foods, and they just added Weiss as another option. I don't know if there's Weiss's near you guys, but that's another place where they're pulling grocery orders from. And then a lot of stores have their own apps, right? So I mentioned My Giant up where I live. I'm not sure if the Giant's down there. I would imagine they do something similar. ShopRite does something similar, and Walmart, you can place a whole Walmart order and go pick it up. So there's a couple, we said the ease. The other piece of this kind of online shopping can be, we're really focused in on limiting like that impulse buying that we might do when we're at the grocery store, right? So sometimes, different things come up that pop out in our faces, and we might be less likely to grab some of them if we're really, just picking things off the app. The other thing that I find is kind of nice is like when we're looking at prices, it's really easy to compare prices in an app, where sometimes if you're at the store and there's a lot of people around, and it's kind of hard to, read the prices sometimes depending on if they're in the wrong place. So that can be really a nice option. Also, like this app that I use for the Giant by me, at least, it saves like prior purchases. So it's really easy. You can kind of go in and look at what was my last order and just kind of click those things and then add what you want. And then it also links up with whatever coupons these stores are offering, which is great. And then the other thing is tracking food, right? So there might be a variety of reasons that we might want to track and like see what our days are looking like, how are, maybe we're looking at getting enough protein during treatment. Maybe we're looking at getting in enough fiber. So these apps can really help us with that, and just kind of honing in and seeing if we're kind of hitting the goals that we're trying to hit. Some of them you have to pay for. I will say that Nutritionix is one of my favorites. You don't have to pay for anything. And that's what I have on the right over here. There's this barcode scanner up at the top that you can see, and that you can just scan the back of any food and it'll populate right in. There's also, once you type in search foods to log, there's also a capability of where you can talk into it. You can hit the microphone and just read what you had for the day. And with that, you can like hit send or hit enter, and it'll populate in what it thinks you said. And then you can go in and correct it if you need to. The other thing you can do with this app is down at the bottom, it says recipes, and you can input your own recipes in. So you can just just type out that recipe right in there. It'll calculate out, what the total in nutrition information will be, and then you can look at you can add a serving or whatever you're eating to that day. So I like that. It's user friendly. I have a lot of clients that like MyNet Diary. I have people that like the Lose It app. I also have people that like MyFitnessPal, but MyFitnessPal has taken away a lot of the free capabilities that they used to have. So you have to pay to get the scanning, you have to pay to get more than just the calories. And then there's always Weight Watchers. I'm sure some of you have done Weight Watchers over the years, and they're very interactive now with the tracking app as well. You still have to pay for it like you always have, but they've kind of changed their program and made it a little bit better over the years, but they have obviously like a tracking piece built into it. And then there's also some different wearable devices that people will use that will kind of integrate in with these apps. So Fitbits, Apple Watches. And there's also like the Aura Ring, if anybody's heard of that. But that's like you can do different tracking things with that. It's a whole thing, but it does like heart rate, and it can do a ton of different things. It's pretty crazy. I think you can take pictures of your food with it and it can analyze it. So it's maybe a little bit more in depth than most people want, but it is something that people are using. Okay, and then this is an app that I really like. I find that it's simple and kind of just encourages us to eat more whole plant foods. And this is nutritionfacts.org. If you're familiar with that website, and Dr. Michael Greger, this is the app that they developed. And it's just to encourage us again. It's like, I find it to be like a very positive app, right? It's just encouraging us to increase those foods that have the most nutritional benefits for us. So the beans, berries, flax seeds, nuts and seeds, greens, whole grains, all those types of things. So that's another piece that you might want to look into. It tracks 24 total points during the day, and then it'll show you like a little graph. So it'll say, say you're trending around 15 or 16 um, points. You might say next week I want to try to get 17 or 18, and it can kind of just motivate us to get that little extra boost of nutrient-rich foods in our diets. And then recipes. I'm sure you've all found different recipes online and, searched in different ways for maybe what you were looking that you wanted to try for dinner, maybe to take somewhere with you. But obviously there's a ton of different places for recipes. And I developed these slides when TikTok was down, but obviously TikTok is apparently back up and still a place where people like to pull recipes from. But, there's, obviously like Pinterest, Instagram, YouTube. So YouTube can be nice because you can get, that education piece with a recipe if you're wondering how to do certain things or certain techniques. Obviously, like All Recipes is a really good database, Epicurious. I really liked Eating Well. That's a lot of those recipes were developed by like dietitians. So I always find that they're, have a good nutrition spin to them. So that's a really good place to search. We have a chat. Let's see what's in the chat real quick. Oh, the name of the food tracking app on the last slide. It was Nutrition X, Nutrition IX. Great question. And with those apps, like this, once we kind of get used to using them, obviously, if you love it, you can do it all, daily. But if people get a little like burned out, I say just kind of like check in with it, especially if you're working towards a goal. So, do a couple days, see where you're at with everything. And then, maybe you pick a day or two a week that you plug in just to kind of see if you're staying on track with everything that you're trying to stay on track with. Then obviously there's a lot of ways we can use technology to find restaurants that, meet our needs, desires, whatever we're in need of. So this Happy How website or app I really like. So that will find like plant-based restaurants near you. So wherever you are. So I plugged in Wilmington. So you can see there was a couple places that popped up for the Wilmington area. But if you're ever traveling or anything, you can always pop that in. And, sometimes we're just, even if we're not eating plant-based diets, we're oftentimes in need of something fresh when we're traveling, right? Trying to find a place that has actually like fruits and veggies and fresh food. And then Local Harvest, which I know I've talked about this website before, but Local Harvest is just different, places that have used locally sourced produce near you. So that's something to kind of check out as well. So again typed in Wilmington and came up with a couple places. So that Fresh Times Cafe, the 12's Grill and Cafe. So a couple of different spots there that really popped out when you type that in. So with that, you can type in up here, you can type in restaurants and then near your location. There's obviously other apps you can do, like if you're gluten-free. I didn't pull those up, but they do exist where you can kind of find what you're looking for in a little bit more of a narrowed down way. So we can also use technology just to save time, right? So we might use it to kind of plan out our batch cooking and maybe how we'll store meals. Maybe we'll have like a labeling system we use or something like that. We might find ourselves scheduling meals in a shared calendar. Some people like to use voice assistants while they're cooking, like if they have a quick question. I hear my stuff beeping, so I'm gonna go put the beans in real quick and I'll be right back.
While she's doing that, I'm just going to share. I used my Fitness Pal. I tried that one out for tracking food for a little while. I did the free month trial, and it was great because it pulls in your exercise as well as your what you're eating. Of course, you have to input the information, but it is $79.99 a year. So after using it for about 2 or 3 weeks, I thought it was great, but not worth like for a whole, I won't, I think, utilize it a whole year. So it was worth kind of maybe checking out the free trial and giving it a go.
That's a good idea. Thank you. And then addressing challenges. So, with technology, it's not all like, happy and whatever. We might have some challenges that pop up. So we might have too many options, right? So that can be something maybe when we're searching for recipes, things might become just like overwhelming. But a lot of times we can kind of filter things by recipes, by preferences, especially if we're on somebody's website specifically, so maybe playing around with that. If we're having trouble kind of keeping up with like tracking or something like that, we might set some reminders for ourselves on whatever app we're trying to use. And then we also might get tech overwhelm, right? It might just be too much. So maybe we just start with one thing, see how it feels, not try to overwhelm ourselves with like a different app for everything we're trying to do. Great. And then I wanted to kind of dive into Chat GPT a little bit. Has anybody used Chat GPT before? All right. So we're going to play around with it. Let's see if I can do that. Okay. So what I'm going to do is stop sharing. Well, let me go through what it does first, and then we'll hop off of this page and uh, we'll I'll finish the slide deck first. So GPT, we can do personalized meal ideas. So we're going to go through that a little bit, like how it can help with you with meal planning. And so ChatGPT is part of this thing called Open AI. So it's this large, it's artificial intelligence, and it's just constantly like learning and like changing and building on itself. So it can be a little intimidating and scary, but it can also be really useful. So I just want to kind of show you how quick and easy it is to use just for kind of like nutrition purposes. Can help with shopping list creation. It can also do nutrition analysis, and that will provide like, so for example, you can just talk into the app and it'll type out what you said and it'll analyze it. I will say the free version, that takes up a lot of like the allowed data that you can use. So, I find that the free version is fine for me, but I think if I was doing a lot of that, it wouldn't be the best use of my data for it. So I tend to just do some of the other stuff with it. But it can do it. And if people have the paid version, they can even take pictures of their food and um, it analyzes that for them. It also can kind of just give cooking guidance if we need support, like having a question for a substitution, all sorts of stuff like that. So it is really useful for just kind of quick, easy things. And we're going to go through it in a minute. Let's just kind of, so some calls to action that we might play around with from today, maybe download a meal planning app, schedule time to batch cook this week, try a new tech tool for grocery shopping, and then maybe play around with Chat GPT. So I'm going to stop sharing and let me open the website. And I'll share again. Just delete. Now let's share. Hold on a second. Let me just, I don't want this stuff to open. My screen's not sharing, right?
No.
Okay. I'm just not sure why it's not popping up. Okay, I see what happened. Okay, here we go. Okay, so we're gonna type in, give me a 1,500 calorie diet, 1 day meal plan, plant-based. So it gives me banana peanut butter chia pudding. It even gives the instructions, morning snack, lunch, afternoon snack, and a nice dinner option. So it's giving us the total for the day, like 40 grams of fiber, 55 grams of protein. Would you like a grocery list or variations? Isn't that wild? So now I'm going to type in, can you make it closer to 70 grams of protein a day? It's for people that might need a little bit more. So it swapped out and gave me some tofu in the morning. Yes. There you go. So it still kept the fiber high, gave the protein, bumped up the protein. And then we could say grocery list. So let's see what it gives us for that. You can also say like, I want to keep it within a certain budget, or something like that. But yeah, this is totally free. So you can go on this website. You just have to set up an account. And I have the app on my phone too. The other thing I like to do is I'm going to say, give me a recipe for high fiber, low added sugar banana bread. So instead of me like going on Google, typing that in and searching like so many recipes till I find what I'm looking for, like you can get this so quickly. And then you're just showing it's only added sugar is 1 gram, which is super low. What's in there? I need to make this. Wheat flour, ground flaxseed, overripe bananas. Yeah, so that sounds amazing. Um, so it can be a real time saver, like without having to scroll through just a bunch of like search results, websites and things. Anybody else want to ask it a question? All right, cool. We have something to play around with a little bit. The other thing I like to do is I made a recipe the other day and I needed breadcrumbs, but I didn't have any. So I typed it in here. This can save a lot of time. Gluten-free options. And sometimes it's wrong and I correct it. All right, cool. So that's how that goes. Does anybody have anything else that they've been using that they'd like to share more about or anything that they've been playing around with? How about any place you guys like to get your recipes from? Does anybody have like a specific recipe website they like or a certain way that they get recipes? Okay, well, maybe you find some things after today. All right, so let's look at so that's almost done then in the oven, and then we're gonna switch to our Mexican street corn recipe. So we did our corn. So this recipe is also known as like sometimes elote, Elote. And you might find if you're at like a fair or festival or something, sometimes they sell like the long pieces of corn with this like seasoning on it. Um, it's become kind of popular in recent years. So I'm just kind of like recreating it in a different, a little bit of a lower saturated fat. I made some swaps from how it's kind of made traditionally. I didn't have access to like typically it's made with like a Mexican soft cheese, but I didn't have it at my grocery store, so I'm just using some goat cheese, and that worked pretty well. I think the flavor combo was pretty decent. So what I'm gonna do is just mix this up. So we're going to do adding in our Greek yogurt. So we're doing 2 tablespoons of Greek yogurt. We're just doing I just got like a 0% fat plain Greek yogurt. So I'm gonna mix that. We're gonna do half of a lime. Do half of a lime juice. Just go grab a different knife real quick. I'm gonna get the zest as well, and I should have done that ahead of time, but that's okay. Get that off now. This tastes really good on top of these like tacos that we're making. I was also just like, sometimes just eat it as a snack. It's really yummy. Thank you. Zest situation here, but I'm just gonna cut it off. Cut the zest off. We don't have to use the whole thing, but just to get a little bit of the flavor. Mix that up. I'm gonna add in a quarter cup of the goat cheese, and I got the crumbled goat cheese for this. I'm gonna actually go pull that out of the oven now. We'll show you what it looks like, and then we'll do the cilantro. Okay, we have our veggies nice and toasted, and our black beans are a little bit, gonna have a little bit of a tiny crunch to them. And then we're gonna do our cilantro. I'm just gonna break off some of the cilantro in here. Great. We'll open the rest of this. And then we're going to add in our chili powder. So we're gonna do a teaspoon of chili powder. And then for cayenne pepper, we'll do an eighth teaspoon of cayenne pepper. You can omit this if cayenne's a little too spicy for you, but it does give it a nice little kick. Oh boy, that's gonna give it a big kick. Okay. That's okay. It's a good thing I like spicy stuff. And then we can add in a little bit of salt, and then we'll just to give this a stir. We're gonna add our corn right in with it. And then that will just kind of be a nice little topping. You can have it hang out in the fridge. Just add it right on top of your little tacos that you're making. Now with tacos, you might you can play around with like the corn tortillas. They're always the lowest in sodium. Sometimes the flour tortillas are tough. Like they always just they taste really good, but they have so much sodium in them. So if you like the corn ones, you know, this would go great in those. If not, you can use the flour ones too, but just kind of seeing if you can play around with some of the corn ones would be great. Yeah, so we have our little street taco dip, and then yeah, this could even be a dip, like if you're going to a party, you can kind of do like the tortilla chips with it or something. But that's that. Does anybody have any questions? Great. Do we know what we're doing next month, Erica? I forgot to look at it.